Hello friends. Have you ever met someone who walked into the room and immediately changed the temperature, not the weather, but the energy? You know, the kind of person who doesn't just turn heads, they make waves. That, my friends, is the essence of an Aries born in the year of the snake. A fusion of fire and finesse, impulsivity and intrigue, action and calculation. This is a rare personality cocktail. Imagine Mars and Mercury at a poker table, both bluffing, both winning. Aries, ruled by the warrior planet Mars, thrives on momentum, intensity, and fearless confrontation. The snake in Chinese astrology, however, is subtle, enigmatic, and strategic. Combine them, and you get someone who's both a wildfire and a chess grandmaster, a paradox with purpose. Let's dive into what makes these people tick, love, succeed, and sometimes, self-destruct. Love. Love for an Aries snake is a psychological game wrapped in a Greek tragedy, dipped in a love story, and served with a twist of danger. It's not just affection, it's a personal revolution. And not everyone is equipped to handle it. From the outside, Aries snakes appear fearless in matters of the heart. They flirt with precision, magnetize attention without even trying, and seem to have an almost otherworldly ability to make anyone feel like the most important person in the room. But underneath that bravado is an intricate labyrinth of desires, fears, and long-term calculations. Where the average Aries might fall headfirst into love, burning hot and fast, the snake adds a psychological buffer. It slows down the process, but makes it deeper, much deeper. The snake doesn't believe in surface-level emotions. It wants to understand the other person before surrendering. And understanding takes time, patience, and testing. If they fall for you, it means you've passed a rigorous series of subconscious exams you didn't even know you were taking. You've been observed in silence, analyzed in the margins, and silently invited into their private mental sanctum. This dual nature means Aries snakes experience love like a double helix of intensity and suspicion. Their Mars energy wants to conquer, to experience love as an act of power and fire. But the snake brings the shadows. It wants control, yes, but also emotional safety. These are not the types to wear their hearts on their sleeves. They wear armor underneath designer clothing, and only those who can detect the armor and respect it are ever let in. They love with extreme focus. If you're theirs, you're theirs. They'll make time for you, rearrange their lives for you, defend you like a soldier, and promote you like a publicist. But it's not blind devotion, it's calculated commitment. Aries snakes view relationships as investments. If they see long-term potential, they'll pour themselves into the connection. If not, you might never even know they were interested. But what does that passion look like? Think, midnight confessions. Long stares in silence. Intimacy that feels like a secret mission. They crave not just touch, but psychological penetration, the feeling of being completely known, and of knowing you completely. They want to merge, but on their terms. They want obsession, but controlled. It's a very specific dynamic, intense, layered, and almost cinematic. The Aries snake also demands evolution in their partner. If you're not growing, adapting, changing, they notice. Quickly. And they may begin to retreat. They need constant tension, not the dramatic, chaotic kind, but intellectual and emotional stimulation. They want to be surprised, challenged, even outwitted from time to time. A partner who is too easy to read will never last. They have a soft spot for people who are mysterious, ambitious, and slightly aloof. Give them the full story up front, and they'll smile and walk away. Make them work for it, let them decode you, and they'll be hooked. Mystery, to them, isn't just attractive, it's necessary. But there's a darker undercurrent here too. Aries snakes can be possessive, even territorial, especially when deeply attached. They might not say it aloud, but they expect loyalty not just in behavior, but in thought. If they sense emotional betrayal, even in the form of emotional distance, they begin to emotionally withdraw. And they do it quietly. One day they're wrapped around you like fire and silk, the next, they've disappeared into the fog without warning or explanation. That's the snake. When wounded, it retreats without a trace. This disappearing act isn't always final, but it's real. And it's a defense mechanism. Aries snakes don't fall in love often, and when they do, it's a powerful, consuming thing. If they feel it slipping away, they don't beg. They vanish. It's not pride. It's self-preservation. Still, for those who can handle them, for those who don't fear the fire or the bite, loving an Aries snake is like unlocking a vault filled with sacred treasure. They'll be your protector, your biggest supporter, and your most loyal ally. They'll help you build your dreams and expect you to help them build theirs. They'll never let you settle for mediocrity, in love or in life. But be warned, they don't do love halfway. They don't do it without strategy. And they never, ever forget. Sex. Sex for the Aries snake is not just an act, it's an arena. A stage where dominance, intuition, power, and artistry all collide. While some signs view physical intimacy as a way to bond, comfort, or even unwind, the Aries snake sees it as a multidimensional experience that carries layers of meaning. For them, sex is emotional theater, personal ritual, and high-stakes diplomacy all in one. Let's start with the drive. Aries, ruled by Mars, burns with primal urgency. It's the fire starter of the zodiac, always hungry for action and rarely subtle about it. The snake, on the other hand, is entirely different. It moves in silence, waits for the perfect moment, calculates every motion. When you combine these two archetypes, you get someone whose sexual energy is both volcanic and orchestrated, fast in desire, slow in execution. That's what makes them unforgettable. They want you now, yes, but they'll take their time getting there. They'll tease, test, build tension like a maestro tuning an orchestra, and then deliver the crescendo only when they're ready to blow your mind. Their appeal doesn't lie only in appearance or physical prowess, it lies in awareness. Aries snakes are acutely tuned into body language, subtle shifts in breath, the micro-expressions that reveal what you want before you know you want it. They treat every encounter as a psychological game they plan to win. You don't just sleep with them, you get studied, deciphered, then devoured. To them, foreplay starts long before the bedroom. A glance across the room. A comment whispered too closely. An accidental touch that isn't accidental at all. They use the build-up as much as the act itself. Sex isn't about getting to the finish line, it's about controlling every second of the journey, and making sure you're hopelessly hooked by the time they let go. Control, of course, is key. Aries wants to lead. Snake needs to control outcomes. Put those together, and you have someone who not only initiates, but dominates the entire dynamic. They don't force control, though. That's not their style. They earn it, slipping into the dominant role with such elegance and confidence that their partner usually follows without even realizing they've surrendered. They don't bark orders. They whisper temptations. They don't take. They invite, and then consume. It's power wrapped in velvet. This doesn't mean they lack tenderness. On the contrary, when they choose to show it, it's stunning. But even their tenderness is intentional. Every move is measured. They understand that eroticism isn't just physical, it's psychological. They play with vulnerability, safety, mystery. One moment, you'll feel utterly cared for, the next, you'll wonder if they've read your mind. And honestly, they probably have. That said, trust is an absolute must. Not in the traditional sense of loyalty or monogamy, though those can matter, but in energetic trust. They need to feel they're in a space where they can fully lead without resistance, where the flow of power is respected, and where they won't be undermined. If they sense you're challenging their control just for the sake of it, or that you're emotionally guarded in a way that blocks intimacy, they'll shut down. The passion may still exist, but the desire to act on it will fade. They don't want to wrestle for dominance. They want to be granted it, willingly, trustingly. Their preferences? Let's just say they're not shy. They know what they like, they're not afraid to experiment, and they love a partner who's adventurous, but not reckless. While Aries love spontaneity, the snake influence keeps them grounded. They don't dive into chaos for the thrill of it. Everything, even their wildest fantasies, is approached with structure, pacing, and intentional build-up. Don't mistake their control for coldness. In fact, they can be incredibly passionate, even overwhelming. But their passion is private. Behind closed doors, they can be primal, gripping sheets, gasping against skin, eyes full of heat. But they need discretion. They're rarely the type to publicize their sensuality or talk openly about their experiences. Their seduction style is coded, more espionage than erotica. Another critical note, they remember everything. If something pleases them, they'll return to it, repeat it, perfect it, elevate it. If something displeases them, they'll never forget. They're the type who will pick up on your reactions from weeks ago and adjust accordingly. This makes them exceptional long-term lovers, as each encounter becomes a refined version of the last. They learn you. And then, they reinvent you. Marriage. Marriage to an Aries snake isn't a romantic fairy tale, it's a sealed pact. It's less about flowers and anniversaries and more about loyalty, purpose, and power. When they say, "I do," it isn't just a declaration of love, it's a contract of legacy. This isn't someone who gets married because it's what their parents expect or because all their friends are doing it. They marry because they've calculated the emotional, strategic, and even spiritual benefits, and found them worthy. Aries snakes take marriage seriously. Very seriously. And that's exactly why they're slow to commit. Aries alone might be impulsive, quick to jump in with both feet if the chemistry is strong. But the snake tempers that impulse with patience and skepticism. Before they agree to share their life with someone, they analyze the emotional landscape. They measure your ambition, your loyalty, your value as a partner, not just romantically, but existentially. In short, they want to know what kind of empire they can build with you. For this reason, they tend to marry later than most. Youthful flings? Sure. Passion-driven partnerships? Maybe. But when it comes to marriage, the long haul, they wait. Because when they do make that commitment, it's total. Binding. And breaking that bond isn't just painful, it's dangerous. This is not a sign combo that forgives betrayal easily. Even small acts of disloyalty can plant a seed of bitterness that never really dies. Their vision of marriage is more fortress than fairy tale. They want a union that's impenetrable, a relationship that commands respect from the outside world. Think, power couple, but not the flashy, Instagrammable kind. Their idea of a successful marriage is quiet strength. Mutual growth. A life that's built, not just lived. Their partner isn't just a lover or a best friend, they're a co-strategist, a co-defender, a trusted inner circle of one. Within the walls of this union, though, things are anything but cold. Aries snakes are deeply passionate, though their passion may not always look traditional. They're not likely to buy flowers every Friday or plan candlelit dinners every anniversary. Instead, they show love in deeply personal, unconventional ways. They'll push you toward your goals when you've lost focus. They'll wake you up at 2 a.m. just to talk through a business idea you mentioned in passing. They'll fight battles behind your back you didn't even know existed. This is their love language: protection, advocacy, and unwavering presence. Still, emotional expression can be complex for them. The Aries side wants to act, declare, display, and fix. The snake side wants to hold back, observe, and plot the most effective route. In marriage, This can manifest as mood swings between intense engagement and quiet withdrawal. They're present and involved, but not always predictable. They don't handle emotional chaos well, and they expect their home life to be a sanctuary of focus, not a battlefield of feelings. Trust, again, is non-negotiable. And this doesn't just mean fidelity in the physical sense. Aries snakes demand loyalty in spirit. They want to know that their partner isn't undermining them in private, mocking their dreams, or subtly shifting power dynamics behind the scenes. If they sense even a trace of duplicity, it can unravel the entire emotional fabric they've built. The snake's memory is long, and its revenge, if provoked, is cold and calculated. The Aries fire may forgive in the moment, but the snake remembers forever. On the brighter side, when marriage with them works, it really works. There's no one more capable of building a lasting empire with you. They're resourceful, driven, emotionally resilient, and unafraid to reinvent the relationship again and again as life changes. They'll never let the bond stagnate. They'll never stop analyzing ways to improve it. And they'll expect the same in return. Stagnation, complacency, or laziness, those are the true deal breakers. Not mistakes, not imperfections, but apathy. That, to an Aries snake, is spiritual betrayal. Parenting, if it becomes part of the marriage, also reflects their dual nature. The Aries snake is not the "let them do what they want" parent. They'll push their kids toward greatness, instill discipline, and encourage independence early on. But they'll also be deeply invested in shaping values, vision, and ambition. They're not afraid to be the bad cop if it serves a long-term good. And they expect their partner to share that sense of mission, not just raise children, but raise leaders. Romance, in their world, is not predictable, but it's ever-present. It might come in the form of watching your favorite movie in silence after a long day. Or flying across the country just to support you for one night. Or staying up late helping you rework your business pitch, even if they have their own deadlines. That's love, Aries snake style. Not always loud. Not always poetic. But always real. Friendship. Friendship with an Aries snake is not casual, it's a deeply intentional, emotionally invested alliance. They don't throw around the word "friend" lightly. In fact, they might go months or even years interacting with someone before ever labeling them a true companion. And when they do, that label means something. It means you've been vetted, observed, tested, and, most importantly, trusted. Because for an Aries snake, friendship isn't just about shared interests or fun weekends. It's about loyalty under pressure, truth in silence, and growth over time. The Aries side makes them magnetic and assertive. They'll take the lead in conversations, invite you into new experiences, and speak with a confidence that makes you feel like you've known them forever. But don't let that initial openness fool you into thinking the bond is locked. The snake side watches from the shadows, quiet, calculating, always scanning for weakness. If you prove shallow, fake, disloyal, or just plain lazy, you'll find yourself gently, and permanently, pushed to the outer edge of their social circle. They don't cause scenes. They just vanish you. Their ideal friendships are intense, high quality, and often one-on-one. They don't enjoy shallow interactions or large, unfocused groups. Crowds exhaust them. Superficial chatter annoys them. What they do love is depth. Intimate, soul-bearing conversations. Strategic debates. Ambition-driven brainstorming. If you're a visionary, a fighter, a creative force, they'll gravitate to you. If you challenge their thinking and fuel their momentum, they'll want you close. What makes an Aries snake such a rare friend is the combination of brutal honesty and unshakable loyalty. They will tell you the truth even when it stings, especially when it stings. But they'll also defend you with everything they've got when you're not in the room. If you're their friend, you're not just someone they like, you're someone they've chosen. And that means something sacred. They're the ones who remember your interview date, send you that article you needed without being asked, or call you out when you're sabotaging yourself. They won't sugarcoat, but they won't abandon either, not unless you break the code. And yes, there is a code. Loyalty isn't just a value to them, it's a requirement. Aries snakes treat friendships like private treaties. You protect me, I protect you. You betray me, and we're done. Not in an emotional, outburst-driven kind of way, but in a cool, clean, irreversible cut. Disloyalty is the unforgivable sin. Gossiping about them? Done. Flipping sides in a group conflict? Done. Making them look small, especially in public? You're not just out, you've been erased from their mental map. And once you're out, you're out. They rarely give second chances. Forgiveness might come eventually, but trust? That's a different game. They don't reopen closed doors. It's not spite, it's protection. The snake never forgets, and the Aries doesn't beg. But if you stay in good standing, the rewards are deep. They're incredibly thoughtful friends, often in unexpected ways. They might never post a birthday story for you on social media, but they'll be the one who shows up with exactly what you need when everything's falling apart. They may not text daily, but when they do, it matters. They remember your fears. Your dreams. That one-off comment you made last spring when you were too vulnerable to look them in the eye. And when the time is right, they'll bring it up, not to embarrass you, but to remind you they see you. Their friendships often have a protective edge. They guard their inner circle like a king guards his crown. If someone wrongs you, they take it personally. If you're struggling, they'll be there, even if they don't know what to say, they'll sit in silence beside you. And if you ask them for advice, prepare yourself, it will be raw, real, and probably uncomfortable. But it will also be right. Ambition is a huge filter for them. They're not necessarily status-obsessed, but they can't stand stagnant people. If you're stuck in a rut, they'll try to pull you out. But if you want to stay in that rut, they'll back off, silently disappointed. They want to be surrounded by movement, people evolving, striving, reaching. Your goals don't need to match theirs, but your energy needs to match their fire. In the end, to be friends with an Aries snake is to be in the company of someone who takes you seriously, sometimes more seriously than you take yourself. They'll push you, protect you, and keep you honest. They'll be the first to toast your success, and the last to abandon you when you fail. But they'll never tolerate mediocrity, betrayal, or fakery. Friendship with them is not easy. But if you earn it, and keep it, it might just be the most loyal, inspiring, and transformative relationship you'll ever have. Business. Business for the Aries snake isn't just a career, it's a battleground, a laboratory, and a stage all at once. It's where their instincts come alive, their strategies unfold, and their fire finds focus. While others are playing for profit, the Aries snake is playing for power, influence, and legacy. They're not interested in short-term wins or surface-level success. They're here to dominate, to disrupt, and to reshape the game entirely. The Aries side gives them boldness, the fire to initiate, to break through walls, to take the risks others avoid. They're fearless when it comes to starting something new. But they're not reckless, because that's where the snake side balances the fire. The snake brings vision, timing, and the ability to see around corners. It adds calculation to courage. These are not your impulsive entrepreneurs, they're warrior planners. Every move feels spontaneous, but behind it lies a hidden blueprint. The snake doesn't just want to win, it wants to control the board. In any business setting, the Aries snake is hard to miss. They walk in like they own the place, or soon will. Confidence radiates from them, not in an arrogant way, at least not always, but with a clarity of purpose that makes others step aside. They read people fast, often within seconds. They can tell who's bluffing, who's insecure, who's capable, and who's going to slow them down. And once they've scanned the field, they move. Decisively. Sometimes ruthlessly. They're natural leaders, but not necessarily team players. That's not to say they can't work with others. In fact, they're often highly collaborative when the team is composed of strong, smart individuals. But if mediocrity enters the room, they'll either override it or quietly find a way to eliminate it. They don't tolerate dead weight. Business, to them, is war, but not noisy war. Silent war. Psychological. Strategic. You'll never hear them scream, but you'll feel the pressure of their presence, the way they shift a conversation or a decision without raising their voice. Their business instincts are uncanny. They sense trends before they hit. They pivot without panic. They calculate risks like mathematicians but move like warriors. They don't just create businesses, they build ecosystems. Their ventures often reflect their dual nature, bold in vision, meticulous in execution. And they're obsessed with control, not micromanagement, but macro control. They want the final word. They want to shape the outcome. Don't expect them to stick to the rules, either. Aries snakes are known to bend norms, disrupt markets, and push ethical boundaries just far enough to stay ahead without crashing the ship. They know where the lines are, and how close they can dance without stepping over. This moral flexibility can make them controversial, but also incredibly effective. They know how to play clean, but they also know how to play smart. When they're building something, whether it's a startup, a brand, or an investment portfolio, they treat it like a living organism. They obsess over its growth, its flaws, its next phase of evolution. They aren't in it for applause or fame, though they won't turn it down, they're in it for impact. And once they reach a level of mastery in one area, they often pivot again. Stagnation is their enemy. Business, for them, must always move. Always grow. Always sharpen. Working for an Aries snake can be thrilling, or terrifying. They demand excellence, initiative, and loyalty. If you're sharp, efficient, and can anticipate their needs before they say them aloud, you'll gain a rare ally. They'll reward you generously, not just with money, but with mentorship, access, and long-term opportunity. But if you disappoint them repeatedly, show weakness, or prove disloyal, they won't yell. They'll just cut you out, quietly, completely, and permanently. It won't be emotional. It will be strategic. Working with an Aries snake is a dance of equals, but only if you are, in fact, their equal. They admire strength. They respect confidence. And they work best with people who challenge them, not flatter them. They're not looking for yes men. They're looking for warriors who can spar with them, mentally and creatively. If you can stand in the ring and throw ideas back with just as much fire, they'll trust you, and likely want you close. But if you try to manipulate them, game over. Snakes see everything. Partnerships are another complex area. Aries snakes can form strong, profitable alliances, but only when the terms are clear and power is balanced. They don't share decision-making easily, and if the other party becomes a liability, they will dissolve the bond, no matter how lucrative or long-standing. It's not personal. It's preservation. They prune to grow. Dark sides. The Aries snake isn't just complex, they're dangerous when imbalanced. Beneath the charm, ambition, and brilliance lies a darker terrain that only a few ever see, but when they do, they never forget it. Every strength they possess has a shadow side, and when triggered, those shadows don't just flicker, they consume. Their inner world is full of quiet storms, hidden grudges, and a fierce desire to stay in control at all costs. And if that control slips, that's when the darkest aspects of their character surface. Arrogance is often the first visible crack. Aries gives them boldness, leadership, a sense of invincibility. The snake adds deep intellect, strategic prowess, and psychological mastery. Together, this can create an extraordinary mind, but also a dangerous ego. They often know they're the smartest or most capable person in the room, and when unchecked, that confidence calcifies into condescension. They may dismiss others' ideas before fully hearing them, believe they're above criticism, or even weaponize their intelligence to belittle or control those they see as weaker. It's not always loud or cruel, it can be subtle, passive, even elegantly wrapped in fake politeness. But it cuts just the same. The dark side of their communication is particularly potent. Aries might explode in anger, quick, sharp, and messy. But the snake prefers cold revenge. So instead of yelling, they might go silent. Withhold praise. Sabotage reputations with carefully chosen words whispered to the right people. They know how to injure without ever raising their voice. And that makes them especially difficult to confront, because by the time you realize what's happened, the damage is already done. Control is another deep shadow. Aries snakes need to feel they're steering the ship. In love, in business, in friendships, if they sense the wheel slipping from their grip, panic begins to bubble under the surface. Not the obvious kind of panic, but the manipulative kind. They might gaslight without realizing it, twist facts to regain power, or subtly undermine someone else's confidence just to restore their own dominance. Their desire for influence isn't always conscious, but it's ever present. If you challenge them publicly or sidestep their authority, expect pushback, not immediately, but inevitably. And it won't be loud. It'll be strategic. Possessiveness is another facet of this darkness. They may act like they're cool, casual, unbothered, but underneath, they're watching everything. Who you talk to. How you talk about them. Where your loyalties lie. They don't need to own you, but they do need to feel secure in their position in your life. The moment they suspect you're slipping away or giving someone else more emotional real estate, they can become cold, distant, or quietly vindictive. And unlike others who lash out emotionally, the Aries snake will often destroy a relationship from the inside out, then walk away looking clean. There's also the issue of envy. They don't show it, because to show envy is to admit someone else has outdone them. But they feel it. Deeply. Especially in areas they care about most, career, recognition, respect. If a peer gains more attention, earns more praise, or rises faster, the Aries snake takes it personally. They won't throw a tantrum, but they will launch into a silent mission to reclaim their dominance. They don't want to compete, they want to obliterate the competition. Their envy isn't loud, it's a blueprint. A blueprint for their next big move. And let's talk about vengeance. The snake doesn't believe in forgiveness the way most people do. They may say they've moved on. They may even smile and behave as if things are normal. But if you've wronged them, especially if it was personal, they never truly forget. Aries wants to strike back immediately. Snake prefers to wait. To gather strength. To strike when it's most effective. This can make them relentless grudge holders. They might not always come for you, but if they do, it won't be impulsive. It'll be surgical. Finally, let's not ignore their tendency to isolate emotionally. On the surface, they're confident, social, even magnetic. But deep inside, they trust very few. And when wounded, especially in ways that hit their pride or vulnerability, they withdraw completely. Not just from others, but from themselves. They can become emotionally inaccessible, hardened, cynical. This emotional lockdown may protect them, but it also leaves them profoundly lonely. And ironically, they often don't even realize they've shut the world out until it's too late. The dark sides of an Aries snake aren't always easy to see. They're hidden beneath charisma, strength, and ambition. But when provoked, wounded, or blocked, they emerge. Not like a storm. More like a shadow. Quiet. Inevitable. And very hard to escape. Life goals. What drives an Aries snake more than ambition, more than success, more than even power, is the idea of legacy. To them, life isn't about existing. It's about engraving. Every move they make, every decision they commit to, every risk they take, it's all with an eye toward what they'll leave behind. And not just in material terms, but in impact, memory, and influence. These are the people who want to live once, but echo forever. At the core of their goals is a hunger to matter. Aries gives them a relentless forward drive, the need to initiate, to lead, to leave their mark. But the snake adds a twist of elegance, a slow-burning depth, and a subtle wisdom that pushes them beyond surface-level ambition. They don't just want to win, they want their victory to mean something. To prove something. To inspire, perhaps. Or to challenge the norms they were never interested in following to begin with. For the Aries-Snake, legacy can take many forms. It might look like building a global brand that disrupts an entire industry. Or crafting a philosophy that inspires others to live differently. Or nurturing a family that thrives across generations. Or creating art, music, writing, architecture, that lasts long after their name fades. Whatever shape it takes, the driving force is the same, they want their fingerprints all over history. They want to be remembered not as someone who lived, but as someone who reshaped the space they touched. This is not a person content with mediocrity. They don't just want a job, they want a mission. They don't chase paychecks, they chase purpose. Even if they start small, the plan is always big. Always expanding. Always evolving. Aries snakes don't settle. They might pause. They might pivot. But they never lower their vision. If anything, adversity sharpens it. Because in their minds, every obstacle is a test of whether they're worthy of the legend they're trying to become. And here's the paradox, while they're obsessed with achievement, they're not always loud about it. That's the snake's influence. Where a pure Aries might need validation, applause, or spotlight, the Aries snake often plays the long game in silence. They'll be 3 steps ahead while everyone else is still figuring out the rules. They don't need to tell the world what they're building. They'd rather show up one day, empire in hand, and watch the jaws drop. That said, they are driven. Almost obsessively. If you know one, you've probably seen this. The early mornings. The overpreparation. The endless tweaks to a project that's already good enough by everyone else's standards. They don't stop at good. They want immortal. They work late not to impress, but because the vision in their head won't let them sleep. Their internal standard is so high it often isolates them, not because they don't want to connect, but because few people understand the altitude they're operating at. Their goals also tend to span across multiple realms: career, legacy, personal growth, influence. They want a story worth telling. A life that stirs envy, admiration, maybe even fear. But most of all, they want to feel complete. To know they use their fire and their cunning, their instinct and their intellect, not just to get ahead, but to build something permanent. Something undeniable. And they don't just want to succeed alone. Aries snakes are selective, but when they find the right people, trusted friends, partners, collaborators, they want those people to rise too. There's a secret generosity in them. If you're part of their inner circle and you show potential, they'll elevate you. They'll fight for your dream almost as hard as they fight for their own. Not out of obligation, but because they believe in excellence. And they want to surround themselves with it. But they also need freedom. This is critical. You cannot cage an Aries snake. You can't limit their movements, their ideas, their ambitions. They must always feel like they're moving towards something greater, or they wither. Stagnation is poison to them. Routine, comfort zones, safe plans, they'll tolerate them for a time, but ultimately, they'll burn them down to chase the next big leap. Growth isn't optional, it's oxygen. Their endgame. It's not just success. It's significance. It's knowing they lived a life that couldn't be ignored. That they changed people, built something that lasted, and made choices that aligned with a purpose bigger than themselves. The Aries in them wants to climb. The snake in them wants to leave something at the summit. A message. A monument. A masterstroke. And when they reach that place, if they ever feel they have, they won't brag. They'll just nod, quietly satisfied, already thinking about the next mountain. Because for an Aries snake, life isn't about reaching the top. It's about redefining what the top even means.